Hey, Crenshaw, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, yeah, man. Appreciate you having me, man. Thank you for
It
putting me
was,
on.
yeah, no, this is
I
cool.
was actually having a thought about the microphones again because I have the headphones in. I was like, oh, I wonder if it's just the headphones, but I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot of back and forth with this audio stuff. So
Yeah, I guess it's fine. Yeah, I think it sounds perfectly fine. I'll listen back to and just like keep adjusting as I learn how to do this thing
right.
here. Um, cool. So yeah, thanks, man. I guess question I had, I mean, when I first thought about what I could talk to you about was just like, so when did you start making people laugh? I mean, honestly, when it was like, not when you decided to be a stand up, but like when you just
Uh,
realized you had that ability to like walk into a room and say something funny.
I don't know if I had that thought for a while. I mean, I wouldn't say like I was always silly, I guess, and do stuff that I thought was funny. I never really considered myself the like class clown type person. I'm fairly shy, so yeah, being a class clown was my thing. I would just kind of mess with the people around me. But as far as like, I don't know, going off on pontificating, but the people, the I guess the earliest time where I kind of realized like I could be funny. Uh, I don't know, man. It had to be like elementary school. Yeah, definitely elementary school. Just
Mm-hmm.
doing silly stuff, finding things funny, I guess, and yeah.
Okay, that was cool.
Do you have it? You have like a memory yourself?
Um, you know, it was, yeah, I always was able to make teachers laugh. I was always able to make my parents laugh. I always I remember taking a drama class in high school, and we used to sit around in a circle, like stereotypically you see in like AA meetings,
Right.
and we were my teacher to like break the ice. She would have these. We would write a question on like an index card, and when she would take
Yeah.
attendance, because like class was like an hour and a half or so, so she would take ask a question, and everybody would go around. She'd be like, "Tommy Smart, yeah," and you would answer
Right.
this question, and it would be something everything from like, "What kind of milk do you like?" um, or "What's your favorite TV show?" Blah blah blah, and
Right.
yeah, I would usually like when it had time to think about stuff, I would like just sit there and like kind of like deliver it, um, the answer.
Right.
It would be kind, and I could always make the crowd laugh, And I
Right.
remember
Right.
when I graduated or was about to graduate, there was like a guy in the class that said to me he thought I was hilarious, and he loved how like I would say something and like half the room would like be dying laughing, half the room wouldn't get it.
Funny.
So I would always be
Funny.
like, I knew from, yeah, I have my audience.
Right. 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 Everybody ain't gonna love me. Uh, nah. Go ahead.
No, I mean it's just, yeah, that, so it always was kind of like, and I was good at public speaking too. I always like, I gave speeches a lot. Um,
Right.
so that kind of a thing. And when I started doing stand up, that's where I was like thinking to myself, oh, cool, that makes sense. Kind of seeing it in that perspective. Uh,
Right. Right.
yeah, yeah. But really, so like,
Yeah.
were you ever always good at like writing, like
Actually, yeah. Now that I was about to say that, thinking about it, I guess the earliest like kind of funny stuff I would do. Well, I remember like writing stories as a kid, or like having to do like a project or something like as in elementary school where you had to like write an elementary, do a book report or something, or write about some like figure, or if you had to do some extra credit thing, like write a story about this, and I would always try to make the story funny like that was like purposely trying to be funny, I guess. So yeah, I uh, I used to do it as a kid, but I kind of stopped like writing for a period of my life just because writing got like connected with like academic writing and like doing like school and shit like that. So I was like, oh no, I'm not trying to do writing like that in general. So I just kind of shied away from writing altogether. Like I'm gonna just watch movies, or I'll just consume rather, in as opposed to create like that.
Oh, that's interesting. When you got into I think you were going after your doctorate at one point, right?
Yeah,
What did you think you were going to study at that point?
clinical psychology. So to be like a psychologist. Uh, yeah, yeah. I don't know. Does that look make? Is it weird? Is that the thought of that weird for you? Like, what's the perception of that?
No, I think it's
Does it make sense? Does it like, oh, that's odd? Or
no,
yeah, what's your reaction?
my reaction's just, oh, cool, because I mean, we all, like, everybody does something different, like,
Right,
since a lot of us still have day jobs that isn't just stand up. Like, a lot of people are truck drivers. A lot of people still
truck
pull.
drivers.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of drivers in the scene. You never noticed
No,
that?
what?
Yeah, there's a
Like
guy.
fucking like
Yeah,
hauling trucks across the country, like in
yeah,
big
like
rigs and shit.
yeah, driving around and delivering things. Yeah,
Who
like
the fuck is a truck driver? I don't know. You
Rehad
probably talk to
Corral.
way more people.
Yeah, Rehad Corral. He's a truck driver. I don't think he'd have an issue with me saying that. Yeah, he was telling me how, like, he loves doing it. I was talking to
That's
another
crazy.
guy. I was at the producers club the other day and, like, talked to a guy. He was a truck driver also. He drives a truck.
Shit,
Yeah.
that's crazy. That looks fun. I'd love to try it. Not for no extended period of time, but
Oh, I knew a
I
guy
go
that
around the
did.
block on it.
I knew a guy who was getting into that back in L.A. He was Bruce
Yeah.
Blood. He was a
Right.
yeah, Bruce. He was a he kind of looked like the butler in the Adams Family,
Funny.
and he was kind of a mess. And yeah, he ended up at one point. He got he got fired for yeah, he got fired at the movie theater I met him at. We were working at, and because he took a phony $100 bill. Um, and not only was it phony, it even said on it for motion picture production use only, and had like a goofy Ben
Right.
Franklin. So he got fired.
Wait,
Uh,
he took it from. Oh wait, what? Not. It just wasn't like an AMC theater y'all are working.
yeah, we work at Pacific Theaters at the Grove, and
Oh, why'd they have fake money?
some dude came in and paid with fake money.
Uh,
He was working at the
hilarious.
box office, and then the dude paid $100, which isn't uncommon, and the he didn't check to make sure it was fake,
Right.
which we
That's hilarious.
because we would do that as like protocol of just if you get $100
Right.
bill,
You gotta
just
like
double check.
hold it up and
Yeah, exactly. Or we had a machine and he just didn't do that
the
because every time he had more than like three
even
people.
it's ain't it like over $50? Yeah, it's over like I've been to some places. I remember like when the new when they changed the 20s, and for a little bit they had to do that even with 20s. But I feel like over like 50, they
Yeah,
start checking the bills at that point.
we probably did. But regardless, he'd always get freaked out if we had more than two people he had to
Funny.
take care of. He was kind of a mess, but
The
anyways,
truck driver back to
yeah,
the
yeah. Then he disappeared. So, but to go back to your original question, yeah, you were. It is. It doesn't surprise me because I could totally
right.
see you sitting there and just being a typical psychologist and then asking questions about certain things, and you're more stoic like a psychologist would be stereotypically. So it doesn't surprise me.
Right.
But you never wanted to go into that life. You just wanted to stick because from what I could tell from like another interview that you did, you just seemed like you were doing it just to do it. You weren't doing it.
No, no, that not necessarily. I mean, I was doing it because I guess I thought I wanted to do it, and as I started to do it more, realizing that I didn't necessarily want to. That was, I guess, more so the progression of it. But yeah, man, I didn't think about. I probably wouldn't even consider doing anything in like entertainment wise. Like seriously, probably until I was like 29, 30. Like that thought of going up on stage or performing, like that shit was just it wasn't in my mind at all. Like I didn't think about being a comic like growing up like that. Although I mean I like being funny and shit like that, but it wasn't no thing of like, oh yeah, I can do that myself. Like I'm not stand up definitely.
Mm.
So yeah.
So what was that? What was the change? What made it click for you and say like, oh yeah, I could do that?
Uh so as I was like in school for trying to be a psychologist and all that, just as that kind of started to fade away, not fade away, but become less desirable. Uh I don't know, I was watching a lot of stand up at that time and also kind of thinking of like I've always watched a lot of stand up and uh so watching a lot of stand up, realizing that I really enjoy it and that I have enjoyed it my whole life. Um, and then I guess really the thing that made it seem doable more so was kind of watching like YouTube and kind of podcasts, I guess, as well, and kind of hearing people talk about like doing stand up and realizing, it's a thing that like there's the mysticism of it, which is cool. All this magic happens on stage and shit. But then there's also the thing of, I mean, it's a craft to work and something you can get better at. And even if you aren't good when you start, like you can get better at it. So,
Right. It's not like singing where you can just like you already need to have that kind of intrinsic ability to
right,
sing.
right. Well, yeah, man, I think it's something of like wanting to be funny and like previous experience of like, making people laugh. I feel like if you don't make people laugh, I wouldn't suggest being a comic. I mean, maybe you'll be really good at it. It'll switch will click, a switch will click or something, click will switch, whatever. But yeah, it's not like, yeah, I feel like you should have that thing. But it's also like you can go up on stage your first time and be terrible and scared and do the absolute worst. But you could also, that doesn't also mean that you shouldn't do it either. Like you can get better from that point.
Yeah, I was laughing because I just remember like a girl that was in that drama class with me who even said a quote, I have no imagination, end quote. And so I'm picturing like her trying to do stand up in my mind because in her she was a very deadpan, not
Right.
very type of like that. Because well, that sounds like very similar to me because I mean I remember being very, and I talked about this on stage where I was just kind of like felt kind of isolated in LA and I kind of found some kind of comfort
Right.
listening to podcasts, Mark Maron's podcast and then Joe Rogan, and just
Right.
the particularly Rogan, just like the love for stand-up comedy, just in the positivity,
Right.
kind of like felt like all right, so there's like a blueprint. You go to a couple of mics and you write and then you try them out and you see what works and then you just build and build and build from there.
Right.
That talk about like just trial and error um just seems more relevant in stand up than anything else, so you knew
Yeah.
I kind of knew what I was going into doing it. But when you got up for the first time, where'd you get up in LA?
I took a class at this guy's like Greg Dean. I took his class in like Santa Monica. And then at the end of that, I did they do a show at the Improv. That's where they do the like graduation show. So yeah, and then I don't even think I went to an open mic. I was still kind of scared to even go to an open mic, even doing the class. It wasn't until like after I did the class, I think so I went to the first one, if I'm remembering things right. So yeah, so that may have been if I'm remembering right, it wasn't like November 2016.
Oh, so you were there when I was there. Shit, I didn't realize that. But you were in
Yeah, yeah, funny.
doing stand up at that time. And how did it feel? Can you remember
Yeah.
that first time being on stage and thinking like, oh, what was going through your mind? Or
Shit, I don't know. Honestly, it was I was just nervous. I mean, that's why I didn't even go to an open mic before I couldn't even. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to an open mic, like at least to practice for this show.
yeah,
But I still wasn't even able to do it. So I remember the class helped with like that stuff a little bit as far as preparing for something, just like teaching you to rehearse, or like the importance of rehearsal and the usefulness of it.
mm-hmm.
So I remember doing that a lot. And then I've done public speaking before. So even like going through school, I've done in school, you know, you do a lot of presentations, especially in grad school. I've done like, you know, speaking events at and like conferences and things. So I'm a little comfortable speaking in public, and kind of I've had this ability. I mean, I've spoken in public before, and even in those times I was able to, you know, be funny and insert some, you know, not like well written jokes, but you know, observational stuff like what's going on or reactions to stuff in funny ways.
Yeah, riffing.
So yeah. I don't even know if I say that, but yeah, in a very small degree. But yeah, so just being on stage, definitely being like nervous, but kind of once a couple of the jokes worked, the first one, so it was like, okay, that kind of relaxed it a little bit, but you know, still just trying to remember everything, and I don't know, just kind of frantically getting through it. And then just the relief afterwards, you know, after you get off, I think sometimes where where you kind of just settle down and the high can kick in from it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, oh shit, that was fucking exciting. And I, you know, actually just did that. And
Yeah,
once you're kind of past the nerves of, oh shit, I'm doing it, or I have to do it leading up to it, then afterwards you're just like, oh shit, I'm floating now. So yeah, after I remember being just elated afterwards.
mm. So it was like really anxiety driven in the beginning.
Oh hell yeah, man, definitely.
Jeez.
And shit, I mean, I don't get super nervous like now, depending on the type of show. But yeah, especially early on, I would get like definitely like cramps. It would always happen. I would get like a cramp like afterwards. Like my stomach would just be so tight, like leading up to it.
Oh.
And then afterwards, once I kind of like let it go, I think I would finally just feel that the pain of it. So I would always get like, especially after a show or something, although that was far and few between, but I would get like a cramp afterwards because I would just be so tense and nervous before, or I would feel the cramp probably afterwards.
Oh wow. And
Yeah.
did the class help? Like obviously it teaches you the basics, or like how to use like excuse me, how to, you know, take the microphone off the pole and have some stage presence and learn how the basic writing. But by the time that was over, did you feel more comfortable? Like
Me, I felt more I felt confident enough to go to an open mic
mm-hmm.
and start doing that. And but yeah, not that much different. I mean, the class is not gonna give you that much. It might just be the very just opening the door, like literally just kind of opening the door to getting on a stage somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But the writing definitely helped a little bit. I'll say that definitely. The writing helped, and like you were saying, the stage presence stuff. What you can get like early on, I feel like the class might, you know, it'll give you like 3 weeks maybe of an advantage as opposed to somebody starting like from absolute zero. The class will maybe put you like, all right, I know the things I would have learned in those 3 weeks, the first month of doing stand-up, you can get that in the class. And, you know.
Okay, that's interesting because I never took a class because I watched an episode of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with Steve Harvey and Jerry talking about classes, and they were really kind of like putting it down.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people put classes down because I feel like they have this idea that people think that they're gonna take the class and then just be masters at comedy. Like,
yeah,
the people that shit on the classes always kind of have that perception about people that take a class and like, oh, you're just gonna go in there. You think you're gonna take this class and come out being a, you know, full-fledged stand-up comedian? Like, nah, it's just gonna give you. I feel like if you have that realization of like, nah, I'm still gonna be a 1 month into it open micer, like the level of importance and skill that gives you,
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, you'll still be there. So go and just taking the class, know that, have that expectation from it.
Okay, so yeah, just be really realistic. You're not gonna get super
Yeah,
strong. All right, yeah. Now I feel that way because I was about to say too, like Jerry has that opinion of where they're like useless, but at the same time,
yeah,
Sebastian Maniscalco took one at the comedy Sandy's Sandbox at the
right.
comedy store, and he's selling out Madison Square Garden. So,
Yeah, yeah. Maybe it was the work in between the class and all that
oh,
more than that class.
oh yeah. Did
Mm.
you ever read his biography? Or
No, just podcast. I feel like once you
okay,
hear some people on 3 or 4 podcasts, that's their biography there. Like, I don't need to read the book at that point.
no, I half recommend it because it's and listen actually particularly listening to the audiobook because it's him narrating it. So it's him telling you.
That's that alone. I'm sure it's hilarious.
It's him narrating it, but he's very, very, very good at like tell, telling you why he did something, and
Right.
like in his thought process behind it, how it was maneuvering. I respected the work ethic, the work ethic, and just the blueprint of like, all right, this is how you do stand up, and everything he
Right.
did was meticulous. Like he would, when he got up at the comedy store, he wanted to, at like an open mic night, he would on potluck, I guess on Mondays, he wanted to get up later in the lineup, so some of the comics that were there for the show and some
Mm.
audience would be there so they could
Right.
see
Right.
him and then say like, oh, and then recommend him to Mitzi Shore. So like that
Right.
kind of like always having that taking initiative and being committed to it and thinking like that. I thought I was listening to it last year when everything was still we were still doing park mics and everything, and I was like, oh
Right.
wow. So it was like really worth the read. But yeah, he took a class.
No, I was saying the class, it was really good. Like, I think it helped with writing and helped with like making making comedy feel like tangible a little bit, like it's something that you can do.
Okay. And then when you got up for the first time at a mic and you got the confidence to, where was it in LA? I'm assuming it was LA.
Ooh, it was a place on Sunset. It's like this black box theater. I can't even remember the name of it, but I know it's on Sunset, like Sunset and La Brea. Actually, it's on La Brea more than Sunset, but it's upstairs. I'm not sure if you've ever been to that place.
Well,
You
was
kind of
it?
froze.
Oh,
Oh
I'm
shit.
still there. Yeah, you still there? Oh yeah, yeah,
Say it again. Did you say you knew where that place was?
well, I know La Brea and then Sunset, not the Lexington, was it?
The Lexington?
Lexington.
Oh, that's downtown, ain't it? The Lexington.
Oh, was it? I thought you remember you mentioned that one time. Sunset and La Brea.
No, yeah, the Lexington is definitely downtown in like not East LA. Downtown, yeah, downtown. But no, La Brea and Sunset, yeah, they did open mics on, I think it was Monday.
Hmm.
Uh I want to say even the name of the mic was like Mom's House or something like that, or
Mom's house.
Mom's
Yeah,
Club, Mom, something like that.
I don't remember no mom's
And
house.
or maybe it was Boys Club, and it was ran by 2 girls.
Hmm.
And they would do oh shit, I forgot. They would do improv there as well.
Hmm.
And I did like some free improv shows that they would do.
Oh, you did
Damn, I
improv
totally
too?
forgot all about that. Yeah, that's funny. I can't remember the name of the place. It's probably closed now with the pandemic and shit.
Hmm.
Yeah, right on some, it was down, it was not too far down from what's that? What was the name of that the dude Eddie's or some shit like that? That was on Sunset, and he came out here. He was an older dude. He like owned the club, and they would just do mics there constantly.
Hmm. Not,
Um,
I knew Eddie's. I knew a Marty's.
Marty's,
Yeah.
Marty's. Yeah, it was down the street from Marty's.
Oh, okay. I went to Marty's once, so I know that area. It's close
Yeah.
to O'Ralph's too. Um,
Yeah. So the other place was right over by there.
mm, okay. And how did that go? The mic.
It went all right. You know, one or two things worked. Other shit got dead silence. So, uh, yeah, yeah, it was regular mic stuff. I would.
Yeah.
It would be. It was interesting because it was a small place, so it would get filled at some points, and then empty out at others. And the mics would go for shit for a long time. And I
Mm,
want to say, I'm sure there was a couple times I even put my name in the bucket and probably didn't stick around to have it called,
mm.
just like talk myself out of it. Or I think that was even the first place I just went and watched the mic for maybe once or twice.
I I remember relating to that. I remember going to a mic and everybody doing really well, and me just like leaving because I can't. Yeah, I just didn't have.
Right,
Today I wouldn't do that. Today I would have the confidence to do it, and I think I got 5 minutes to do it. But like I remember leaving because it was like, yeah, I can't do this shit. And
right.
then, remember that place began with a P. I forgot. Well, it was a restaurant. It was in the back. Kind of felt like an antique shop restaurant type
And
place.
this was in LA.
This is in
You
LA.
started in LA.
Yeah, I started in LA. It was April 18th, 2018, and I went to the improv and entertainment lab.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
yeah.
was there at till 2 in the morning. It was one of those mics that would go till 2 in the morning.
On
And
Sundays or something.
it might have been, yeah, it might have been a Sunday. And I remember first person I spoke to was actually a guy named Joe, who was a um he was a New York comic at that time, and he was in it 3 years. And anyway, yeah, like similar to your story. I mean, I felt confident that I can get in front of a room of people and talk,
Right,
but still, it was like I put a lot of like pressure on myself because I was like, it was so cool because I'm gonna enter this world and it's gonna be super cool and it's stand up
right,
comedy and yeah, um, yeah. So I started there, and that was my first mic, and then, but I remember going to like the main room of the comedy store and just feeling it out whether or not this was something I wanted.
right.
And you're like, yeah, I could do that.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's funny. I remember actually going. I remember going to the Comedy Store,
Hmm.
like when I first moved back to LA, maybe in like 2010, 2011. Like, and it wasn't until like years later that I even recognized, oh shit, that was a Comedy Store. Because it was kind of like around that time where I'm not sure if you hear people talk about like the Comedy Store, but it kind of would like it had a low period and wasn't as popping as it is now.
Yeah.
And somebody like barked us in off the street to go to this show at the Comedy Store. And
Oh,
because I think about it, like, oh shit, that was the belly room that I was in. Like it was like we
yeah.
barked up to a show in the belly room, and I didn't even go. I was so unfamiliar with comedy that like the idea of the 2 drink minimum was like, oh shit, like that was a shocker to me. Like fuck, I gotta pay. I have to pay for drinks at this thing, and
Wait, so you're talking about you got barked? So you got barked into the comedy store,
yeah,
into the belly room. What year was that?
probably like 2010.
All right, that kind of makes sense because that was before. You're right. There was that
Yeah,
lull.
yeah, yeah, it was before it like really blew back up into what it is now.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like it was like years later that I was like, oh shit, I've been to this place before.
Hmm.
Like hearing stories about it, like, oh damn, I remember going to that show and I don't remember who we saw. It wasn't nobody famous. It was yeah, there wasn't nobody in there either. 'Cause, we getting barked in, so you know how packed shows be that have to get barkers and shit.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the belly room too was
Yeah,
always that place where the like it would be the door people would put on a show, and
right, right, right.
so that doesn't really surprise me, even if they were doing well. I could see them still like having like produce shows in the belly room, and then them
Yeah,
going out having to like say like, hey, let's go to into the main room and or into the OR and go like, yo,
right.
come in here. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That kind of a thing. But yeah, then the two drink minimum, and then when you're a young person, like or at least novice to comedy clubs, you're
Right?
like $20 on top or $25 on top of like two
Right.
cocktails, and then
Yeah, I was just sitting there looking for the cheapest thing on the menu. Like, shit, can I just get two waters? Yeah, that's $8 each. Like, fuck.
damn, yeah, yeah. Well,
Uh,
I told you how when I was in Dangerfields, which I don't know if you've ever been there here in New York. It's not there anymore, but
right.
I remember spending $100 there, not counting
Shit.
the cover.
Ticket.
And so yeah, between I don't know what I got. I guess I think I just got like I wasn't 21 yet. So I had to have just gotten like a club soda with lime. Um
Oh
and
shit. And you were just like getting refills?
I guess so. That or I must have gotten some wings. I might have gotten wings.
But $100? Like, I don't understand. Where did this $100 go?
Well, wings and then refills, and then two drinks and then refills. But that was the thing about Dangerfields. It was like it was so expensive. Nobody wanted to go over there.
Right?
Yeah, so that was nuts.
I don't think I ever went into Dangerfields.
It was, it was kind of like going into the comedy store in that it felt very much like it was when it was built.
Right? I want to say I probably thought it was closed. And then once I realized it was like, oh shit, it's actually still open.
Hmm.
Then it was like, oh, then it closed down.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
cause the year, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't thinking about it, or I don't know, like the year I was here before the pandemic and everything. Yeah, I know I didn't go during that time.
yeah. No, I didn't end up going there. I did a bringer there around this time 2 years ago. Now,
Wait,
yeah,
when did you move to New York?
September of 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah, right.
yeah, I was but yeah, I was there, yeah, there in LA doing stand up for that year and a half. And I did everything. I was at the fourth wall a lot. Um I did Bert's back room. I don't know if that was still there. I did
Wait, so you were like in the valley?
no, I lived on West LA. I lived in Westwood Village.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right by
I was over
UCLA.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My high school wasn't too far from there. And in high school, I was be in their area
Hmm.
a lot.
Oh wait, so you yeah, so where did you grow up? That's another thing too.
Uh, Primarily in LA. I moved to LA when I was 8, so fourth grade. We moved to LA, but before that, I was born in Wichita, Kansas, and then moved to St. Louis, and then to LA, and then was in LA from elementary school to high school till I left for college.
Oh, nice. Cool, cool, cool. And then
Yeah,
you were born in the West Coast, or I mean, somewhere in the Midwest or
Kansas.
Kansas. Wow.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, random.
I didn't know if he was a Kansas guy. Cool, cool, cool. What do you consider yourself when people ask you where you're from?
LA. I mean, Kansas. We moved. My family moved from there when I was like 2, so that barely even counts.
Mhm.
Uh, in St. Louis, we lived there for like 6 years, maybe.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, elementary school through high school, shit. Grew up in LA.
Oh, okay. And where did the interest in pimps come into play?
Pimp's hilarious. Uh, Honestly, probably listening to LA rap music like in the '90s
Hmm.
and shit. A lot of Snoop Dogg, Corrupt, Sugar Free. I feel like that. Uh, those artists were. I don't know. They just always talked about pimping for some reason. Pimping, yeah, I guess pimping was just big in West Coast rappers in the '90s.
Okay, that's
And yeah,
interesting.
just the that, and then I won't say I always liked black exploitation movies, but black movies from the '70s and shit,
Yeah,
and
sure.
that was all pimps and stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that's funny. Feel like you're coming with the Nardwar type question.
Well, I remember you listening to a podcast you were on a while ago, and you were talking about how like you like the idea of them using language to influence people and how just how they talked and
Yeah.
stuff like that. And I thought that was interesting. I mean, yeah, because I learned about that world of pimps only because like you do research about like Times Square in like the 70s and 80s.
Right, right, right.
So you kind of get used to hear about those people. And then I watched a lot of European films, so there was always kind of like pimps and whores and some of them, but like
Really?
yeah, like Knights of Caraba or some French New Wave movies too. Anyway, I just thought that was really cool. So that came from like all the West Coast rappers. Oh, no, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, primarily. Shit, Snoop Dogg still one of my favorite rappers. Like I said, corrupt and free. So,
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of pimp talk in that music, and I'm not sure if being in LA made me, because they would reference, like Dolomite and fucking Willie Dynamite movies, the Mac, and movies like that. And so that probably made me go back and watch those. So yeah, probably started all from 90s West Coast rap music.
Oh, cool. And then did you then you made the transition to like comedy? I mean, not that you were doing rap. I was just like the influences that come into doing like stand up. Like, what were you watching or listening to that say like, oh, I could do that too? I mean, was it always like the usual suspects that
Uh,
we hear about, or was there anybody offshoot that was like we hadn't heard about?
um, so I would like, so me, I guess the people that I was watching when I decided to do it were people, Bill Burr, Patrice
Mm-hmm.
O'Neal, Chris Rock, definitely probably my favorite comic. And um so yeah, those three, and other people around that time I'm always forgetting, but like I would watch it as a kid growing up, but it wasn't until probably until like my late 20s that like even the idea of going to a comedy club was like kind of nerve wracking because I would watch a lot of like Comic View and Def Comedy Jam. And so the idea was always that the comic was just gonna talk shit about you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm not fucking with no comedy club. I'm already fat, so I'm not about to go in there and then just be the easy target for the comic. Like, fuck that. So yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I remember. Well, do you remember the name of that club that was on Pico? It was kind of like the black club in LA.
uh Pico and
Yeah, like right up, maybe like right next to Roscoe's or right around there.
Echoes on Pico.
Nah, not Echoes. It's like a black club. I'm not sure if it's pandemic may have closed that one too, but
But a club,
yeah.
but like an actual club, not just like a bar where they had a stage.
No, yeah, it was an actual club.
Hmm. I'm trying to.
But yeah, I remember that's probably uh, around 2010 too. I went there to or maybe before, maybe I don't know why I ended up going. I think somebody barked us in off the street from that too. Now I'm thinking about it. So yeah, but that was a time I remember like fuck, I don't even go to comedy clubs because I don't want to get talked about. I remember going into that place like fuck man, I'm trying to sit in the back, so I'm not so they can see me and shit. Uh, so yeah, none of the people that I watched, I guess growing up, like made me be like, oh, I want to do that. That was part of the people that was like, oh, that's something I could never do. And even people like Bill Burr and Patrice O'Neal, I don't even still I don't see them and be like, oh yeah, that's something I could do. Um, and yeah, when I started, it was probably, I guess, probably seeing them work stuff out. I guess, like I said, like watching YouTube videos, so seeing them do it in having different versions of their stuff recorded and being able to watch was like, oh, okay, they that probably more so rather than like any one person be like, oh, I have to go do or that I can do this. That was a thing that was like, oh, okay, that's something that is doable and changeable and progressionable.
Oh, okay. So that was so it's very practical. I can kind of relate to that because I
Yeah.
remember when I was at a networking event at the entertainment lab like a year before I even thought about doing stand up, and you would see these comics that are pretty much on par with like how where I guess you and I are now. Good,
Yeah.
but I remember like watching them being like, all right, they're good, but they're not like polished doing like they're special.
Right.
It's the I there's such an because what you described was very much a similar like attitude or anticipation of what stand-up comedy is. Just like a guy like roasting people in the audience doing the crowd work.
Right. Right.
And it's not that. It's a lot. Maybe that's like if they need to fill up time and they don't have
Right.
any new jokes or something, or they're just vibing with the audience, or that's like the fourth show they did in a day and just want to talk shit. But usually, no, it's about working out other things. So you see them in a vulnerable position, a comic on stage where they're trying something out. They're not 100% confident about it. They're
Right.
genuinely surprised when something works. Um,
Right.
I remember one time watching a girl that was on uh, that yeah, that was like doing crowd work and asking a question and then it didn't go well. And then she was like, all right, that's enough crowd work. You know what I mean? But like you wouldn't expect that of someone who's like a vet or like very
Right.
polished as
Right.
a comedian. So anyway, you're just like, oh, you take these people off the pedestal and you're like, oh, I could do that too. Give it time. And that's interesting. All right, that's so cool. Like again, you have like these comics that you like looked up to. I didn't. I just like
Oh,
started to. Yeah, no. I was thinking about it recently. I don't. I never
you
really
didn't
went.
you didn't watch comedy growing up?
No, my exposure to comedy was the Seinfeld show. His and him watching him do those intros. Um,
Right.
and then you saw it. And like comedy was around, but like nah, it was more like watching Seinfeld. And my uncle Jim gave me a record of when I say a record, I mean like a CD, like literally a CD
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
of Woody Allen doing stand up at in Greenwich Village,
yeah. Oh, shit.
not far from where we hang out in McDougal. I think around that block. Um, these recordings of it, and because I liked his movies, so yeah. So when I started doing stand up, I didn't really have anyone I was trying to be or
Right.
be like. I think I was really just like trying to, lack of a better word or way to put it, be myself because I had enough confidence that I was
Right.
funny.
Right. Right.
I think that's just crazy to me
Okay.
when you think about it, because then it's just like you're not really trying to be anybody else than who you are. You're not trying to be
Right.
Chappelle, or you're not trying to be Bill Burr. You're not trying to be
Yeah, maybe.
somebody else.
Or something you may be trying to. But yeah, no, I feel what you're saying.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely try to. I don't know. I guess to try to be some version of yourself
yeah,
that's entertaining and works up there.
yeah. Being comfortable up there. So then when you moved to New York, what was the decision? What did you come out here to do stand up, or did you just like, or was it for work purposes, or
Essentially, so I've been doing it in LA. So I started with 2016. Um, so like 2 years, but even in that so I did it for like 2 years, like kind of sporadically and not super consistent. The second year got a little bit better, but even then it was probably going up, a couple times a week, not definitely not like every single day. Probably a couple times a month more so. Um, but yeah, then the decision, I guess, as I started to do it more and kind of got more into it, uh, yeah, kind of realizing that a lot of the comics that I liked came through New York at some point. And also like, I didn't necessarily, I wanted to move to New York, but I didn't necessarily have a plan to do it until like I had a friend out here and he told me about a job opening where he was working. And so that's when it became like something like, oh shit, I could go out there if I get this job, but I was just gonna stay in LA if that didn't even come through. Um, yeah, actually, I interviewed for this job like twice over a couple years. Like the first time I interviewed for it, I obviously didn't get it. Like came out here maybe in like I want to say 2018, but yeah, maybe around then, and yeah, didn't get it, and maybe like a year later, their like management kind of changed, and they kind of forgot about people that they interviewed the first time, and so interviewed for it again, and they ended up getting it, and so then kind of just used the job to come out here to do comedy, you know, to fund and support it and all.
Yeah,
I think starting so late too, as far as like in my late 20s, the idea of just like being broke and doing it, I'm not trying to do that shit. I need a fucking job.
yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat where it's just like, and that's a funny thing too about stand up. That's different than any other kind of art form, really. Well,
Right.
compared to like say acting, you know, you're not trying to. You could still keep a full time job, 9 to 5, and be pay your rent and feed yourself, and but but grind every night and on the
Right.
weekends. So we're kind of lucky in that regard. I think how you can still keep a full time job there, but that's crazy though because like you interview
Yeah.
for a job and then like a year later, that's like I don't want to put
Yeah,
labels on
man.
it.
Luckily,
But yeah,
it was a job with the city. There'd be a lot of turnover. So yeah,
that's that's nuts. Are
that
you still
helped
doing that
out
job
with
now?
no, I so I came here February 2019, and maybe like 3 or 4 months into it, they're
Mhm.
like, "Oh, the job is gonna be shutting down at the end of the year, or this like department. We're laying everybody off at the end of this year, essentially." Um, so yeah, it so now that job ended December 31st, 2019. Uh, so that was the end of that one, and then was on unemployment, and ended up finding another job. You know,
Yeah, I know how
sending
it
out
is.
that job. You know how that shit goes. Nothing right in there. Yeah. Shit. Luckily, being it worked out. It worked out. The only good thing I guess about it was that I was already on unemployment when
Mhm.
the stuff for COVID kind of happened. So
Oh
my
yeah,
name and all that was already in the system, and so that money just flowed in seamlessly when they started, you know, sending out those unemployment checks and stuff. So
yeah. Where everybody was getting like I don't know, like I guess it was like
yeah,
45K a year's worth of unemployment. Um,
something like that.
yeah, I just remember it being something that you could live off of, full time.
Right.
Y- Yeah, lucky you. I never got any of that. I just
Yeah.
nah, it just didn't work for me. The state didn't
Nah,
work for me.
like that. I had to go sit. Luckily, I went to the unemployment office in like January.
Mm.
So before everything like kicked off, so it was a relatively comfortable experience. It wasn't no super long lines. I wasn't on the phone for hours and shit
Yeah,
trying to get the shit
yeah,
worked
that's what
out.
happened to me. I had to deal with people on the phone, and then you couldn't get anybody on the phone. And even when you got somebody on the phone,
Right.
miraculously, they didn't even want to talk to you. Well, they didn't even know how to answer the questions. Like the girl literally told me, "I don't work in this department. I'm just reading what's on the page." And I was
That's
just,
hilarious. Yeah, man, I was kicked back on my feet up, just letting the money roll in.
yeah, making it
That
rain.
shit was
Yeah,
fun.
I know what you mean. But I know
Right.
some comics too that I tried to help get a job at like a coffee shop because he had that experience. Because the Turkish ladies at the coffee shop over here, um, were like were hiring, and I knew a guy. He's a comic, and I said to him, "Yo, you want a job?" He was like, "Nah." And
Fun.
I'm like, "Okay." And then he hit me up like
He was
two.
getting unemployment.
He was getting unemployment, making it rain with unemployment, and then it was just like he's like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm good." And then he hit me up for a job like 2 weeks ago. Uh,
Yeah, shit. Unemployment run out at some point.
yeah, yeah. And then I guess like when it comes to New York, like doing, do you think if you didn't come here, you would have tried doing like say the comedy store thing, in terms of
Probably. Yeah.
yeah, and do the whole
Um,
doorman thing, and
yeah, actually, like it's funny. I like called up there at one point and like, yeah, how do you become a doorman? Just kind of called up there and asked, and like, oh, yeah, you got to be a comic and go through that process. I thought we were just, I didn't know that they took comics and worked them there like that. I thought it was just, people that needed a job essentially, like they just hired regular people. Now these are all comics themselves. So yeah, I mean that was probably the plan if that job never, presented itself. To stay out in LA and try to make it happen.
Were you happy how things turned out? Like you come here and do the New York thing over to stay over there?
Yeah. I'm happy to do it here. Man, I love doing it here. It's and even during the one of the things I definitely like about doing it here, like during the pandemic, I don't know how true it was of how locked down LA was and like people just doing absolutely nothing. But here, as soon as there's like the slightest glimpse of you can go back outside. Like even once it kind of warmed up in like April or so, people are like going to just people getting outside in general, just going to parks and walking around. Like, immediately people started doing shows and stuff like that, or mics rather, opposed to shows, but people started getting back out and doing it in some form or fashion. So I appreciated that definitely being here for that during that whole time too, of like, all right, I'm not gonna stop doing it.
Do you feel like you were doing it more than ever?
Probably. I definitely well, I don't know, more than ever. I think that first year I was here, I was doing it pretty I was probably doing it more than the pandemic, but I don't know, a lot of people like talk about the pandemic like it was a year that they weren't doing comedy. But like, I don't know, I didn't really stop necessarily. I didn't feel like I stopped. I mean, I stopped for a couple months, I guess. From like what, March, a couple weeks, probably like March to like May, months rather. I think that's when I first went back out. I went back up somewhere.
Yeah, for a while there was just Washington Square Park had their mic at 3 p.m. and then there was a couple mics in.
I'm trying to remember. I know I went to like QED very early on, but I don't know if that was the first place I went. I don't know. That may have been.
I know they were doing it for a couple weeks and then they shut down. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because they were doing it outside. It was, once things warmed back up, because they were doing it in their like backyard area.
Yeah. I still have to hang out over there. Which I feel like I should at one point. Cool.
Yeah, it's just far.
Yeah, where is it even located? It's in Queens, I know that, but like in relation
to so growth. I know that's in the story. I don't know. I can't remember exactly where QED is, but it's like it's not super close to any train. I mean, whatever the train is, if you take, it's not. It's a little bit of walk, maybe 10 minutes if you consider that a walk. But yeah. I don't know if it's really close to Grove 34.
No, I'll go there when I need to. So hey, moving to
we'll start going back up.
When did I start going back up?
Oh, yeah, shit, first.
No. You said when did I start going back up?
Yeah,
I had to be like May, April or May. I think I was actually just about. Yeah, I think there was that sheet that was posted in like New York indoor outdoor comedy or outdoor comedy at that time. And I was like, oh wow, this is too good to be true. There's like mics, and I posted like, is this for real? And I got a reply back to it with the girl going, yeah. I just thought it was too good to be true at that point. And then I had then I was walking around Washington Square Park, and then I saw the mic was there, and I just like kept going to it. And yeah, I guess to your point, we're very similar in that regard, where I was like, yeah, I didn't feel like I stopped. And not only does it not feel like I stopped, it feels like I was doing it more than ever. I mean, that's where I met you.
Yeah, and I want to say it felt like I got better during that time.
Oh yeah,
like I was doing it enough.
Yeah, not even just
Yeah,
that. It was like
yeah,
just
definitely.
well, I'll say not even just that. It's just like being outside and having all the distractions, and then not having
Right,
like
right.
the club vibe, not having even the
Yeah,
bar
it
vibe.
definitely added to, even if it just helped you as far as like getting over anxiety, because it was, feel like it was definitely added anxiety being out in public and just kind of like as I say, just inflicting your comedy on people that don't want to be into it at all. Just people just
Yeah,
walking by and shit.
yeah, yeah,
So even just knowing that I was gonna have to do that was like another level of anxiety that I had to get over, which ultimately helped on stage.
yeah, yeah. And then having like
Yeah.
seeing everybody like do their thing, as in like watching us, like, and you can see all the comics just stereotypically being very stone faced and forced to like listen to us talk,
Right.
each other talk, and yeah, it was a lot. I mean, even not being a novice at it, it still was like a lot. But I think it worked in the end because I think we all not only just got better at it, but just like you had to learn to project, you had to be cool with different scenarios, being totally
Right.
uncomfortable. Um, yeah, so I'm grateful for that time period, man. I mean, I'm glad to come out of it much better.
Right.
Um, when you I had a couple of questions just about like, well, first I wanted to ask you about your show that you do or the shows that you do, and then how you got into that, how you think that's helping you. But do you have like a favorite bodega you go to?
Um, to out so where I'm at now, in Brooklyn, yeah, I mean they're all around here. I haven't found like a favorite one. There's ones that I like better than others in its proximity.
Yeah.
Um, but no, there was actually one in like Williamsburg when that was my first. That's where I first lived when I moved out here. There was one in Williamsburg that I like found that I really really liked. That like it was one of the first places I realized that you can get like salt and pepper in eggs in New York or in the bodega. I didn't know that was a thing that you could actually get. And so I was like, oh, fuck, this is the best goddamn sandwich ever. So yeah, that was one over, yeah, in Williamsburg where I was
No,
at.
you could just get like salt, pepper, and eggs. That's like a life changing thing.
Yeah, because I don't know, I felt like all the times when I would get like a bacon, egg, and cheese or something, the idea of like them flavoring the eggs was foreign to me.
Oh wow, that's cool. Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Jeez. And have you had a chopped cheese
You
ever?
have a flavor. Yeah, yeah, I've had it. Not like out in Harlem or anything like that, but or I've had it once or twice. I'm not a fan of like the what nacho cheese or whatever they put in there, or the cheese whiz.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's kind of like a Philly cheesesteak, but with Angus beef, chopped beef.
Yeah. I don't know, I think maybe the times I had it, they probably put like American cheese or something on there, which I
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
necessarily like.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so maybe if I get it with pepper jack or some shit.
Hmm. I don't think I really have a favorite one, particularly just the ones by like on like 44th and Ninth. I'm there a lot, so like
Right,
yeah, it's something like really like fancy. And then around
right.
here, there's isn't a lot with delis. So it's like in my mind, it's like whatever. But was that a shock? Bodegas coming from like L.A. You had Ralph's and just going to Ralph's and that being like 24 hours. It's when it's
Actually, you know what? There was a place in Bay Ridge where I
mm,
was staying that I liked. I like Bay Ridge actually. I really like being out there for a couple months, for a year almost. Yeah, so that's probably where one of my favorite bodegas and sandwich shops is out in Bay Ridge.
cool. That's dope. So I wanted to ask like big question. Like you started producing your own shows with Andre and now with Steve. Um, so how's that experience been? Like putting together your own show and going from just being like a bar show comic and like now you're like working at like Greenwich, But then like having to put together your own show, and how do you think that helps you?
Right, right, right. It definitely adds the work element to it,
Mhm.
and kind of removes a little bit of the just having fun, creating, saying dumb shit on stage. It's definitely like, all right, now you have to do, even though it's sometimes it can be a lot if you're busy and busy with other life shit, and but like the thing of having to book comics, having to talk to places and try to arrange workouts and deals and type shit. Um, so it adds another level of like stress and uh, having to do stuff. But it's definitely a good learning experience, I guess, and figuring out putting. It's good to take more time to figure out the business part of it and try to figure out how to make a living from this shit. So it's I don't know. I feel like it should. I feel like everybody should try to do it. Like you don't have to continue to kind of produce shows, but to get into the to learn like how you can make money in this and like what to expect and you know dealing with people. It's good for that, definitely. And having the extra stage time and the consistent stage time helps too.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy in Maine. He's a comic from Maine, and he does a lot of brewery shows. That's what they call them, brewery shows. And just good to have, because you're gonna get up a certain day, um, throughout the
Right,
once or twice or three times. It's weekly, or four times it's weekly. But you're gonna get up. You can do 10 minutes up top and work, so you can work out your new stuff and have that. And I guess realistically too, I mean, I've even come kind of to the realization like, um, it's great to get past at a club, but like all these bar shows like I've been doing and you've been doing, um, it's still stage time. It's still time to be able to really just, it's still working. It's still, I mean, I got paid for a few of them.
yeah, yeah. And it's I don't know. I feel like that's a level of movement. Where it's like you do mics, then you work your way up to bar shows and venue type shows and small clubs, very very small clubs and shit. And then the next level is bigger clubs and more like paid book stuff, hopefully,
Yeah. And then if you're lucky, you branch out.
and stuff
Um,
outside the city, road. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
yeah. And then, you know, if you're lucky, arenas and theaters too, if you can get
Right?
that many people wanting to see you. Um, no, it's just interesting. Like I don't do that at one point, producing something, but yeah, just and one last thing before I really only have like one last question for you in terms of like comedy and everything. Yeah, I kind of remember like just our conversations that we would have, getting frustrated where you just like you have a weekend and you're not on a show. I'm starting to like
All
because
right.
I've been fortunate enough to get booked on a lot of stuff now. Thank God. And thanks to everybody who's been
Right,
doing that, including yourself. But like it's like now you get that like anxiety of like, oh shit, my hot streak.
right.
you know.
Yeah, it's funny. Like once you kind of start getting stuff, you do get the thing of oh shit, it might go away too. Like I'm glad to get these shows, but now I got to worry about not getting shows, and so yeah, yeah,
Well, yeah, because I mean now
and
it's like
also seeing other people get shows. Like fuck, I want to do that show, and yeah, man.
yeah, because it's like I don't have a show to spot swap, and so it's like I've been
Mm,
the fact that I've been on like a 6 month hot streak of getting on shows. I think that came from like just me hanging out. I mean, well, like guys, making friends with guys like you who end up producing stuff, but also just like being around. So it's like
right.
mix of the hang and the and when I say the hang, I mean I'm genuinely trying to support people. So like
Yeah,
in their show, so it comes from like a place of genuine. Um, you either like the show they produce or you like the comic and you want to support them. But it's like it's funny. It's like okay, let's
right.
see, all the I had like three shows that were rescheduled for like April. So now I go have all I have is like one gig for
Nice.
March. So like let's run. Anyway, I'm just describing that in like I remember us talking about that a couple months ago, and now I'm at that point where it's like, oh, now it's like I want to keep these going. But like anything else, dude, it's
right?
like if you just keep grinding, like good things will come. You know, I feel.
True. Yeah, man, that's all you can do. Hokey as that sounds, yeah, man, just keep trying to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard people talk about that, but yeah, that's the driving force that kind of helps if you're you know if you're like chasing shows and shit and kind of getting on shows, then that becomes a thing, and then it's like you get worried about losing the show, but if you're, I guess, supposedly chasing getting better at it, you can't necessarily lose that, and so that's I don't know, a more fruitful thing to chase, so to speak.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's just about like if you're good and you're getting booked, you'll stay good, and people will still wanna. Just I just worry about more just like
Right,
being like 'cause, like all right, one show gets canceled, one gets rescheduled. Yeah, it'll happen. Like just have the confidence in yourself, I guess. Um,
right.
I guess one last question I wanted to ask, just insightful, like, do you like listening,
Mm.
watching specials?
Uh, yeah, I still do. Yeah. It definitely goes to the point where it's like you watch enough, like kind of like live comedy.
Mhm.
Um, oh no, I do. I guess I think that it diminishes it in a little bit that way of kind of what you kind of see a lot of live comedy. You kind of realize the special can't really be that good as seeing it live, and so I try to get more in the thing of trying to see people I want to see live, but I don't know. I guess I don't watch that many specials anymore. That's definitely tapered off, and uh, I try to go back to them every once in a while. Um, and if it's somebody obviously that I really like, somebody like really big, then yeah, I'll definitely watch that one. But outside of like the big name ones, I can't remember the like tier down whatever specials that I've seen.
Mm. Yeah, it's just I feel like sometimes we just
Oh no, I
want.
saw like Mark Norman's and I saw just Shane Gillis's, which was really good.
Yeah, Shan's was
Um,
good. That was cool. The one at the
yeah,
creek in the cave.
yeah. So I guess I watched those levels too. Um, but yeah, I used to watch a lot of them, but yeah, definitely not as much as you watch, or at least I watched when I was first initially starting and shit.
Do you think feel it's just part from like actually doing comedy, and now you're working some clubs and just being around it, you just want to break from it. You don't want to have to go home and sit and watch it.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, especially like if you're gonna watch TV, I'm gonna, I still try to watch like comedy shows and stuff. I'm
Mhm.
not, I don't say I just stopped watching comedy altogether, but yeah, it's a not bringing your work home type thing as well.
Yeah, I feel that. It's just sometimes like I don't tell people outside I do stand up because it's just you want to break from it. I don't tell
Yeah, yeah,
coworkers. I don't tell. There was a period of time where I was like, I thought it was really cool, and I started telling people, just being excited about it,
right,
because I didn't have that whole vibe that some comics have, where I'm ashamed that I do this, or it's like,
right.
you know,
I don't know. I don't say I'm ashamed to do. Like I don't tell a lot of people, especially if they like. I don't know if like I didn't tell a lot of family at first. Definitely. Um, I don't know. It's not like a shame thing, but just I don't know. I'm not sure what the difference between shame and embarrassment is, but somewhere in between there,
yeah, shame's a little bit dramatic, but
right?
it's like it's like you feel like you're just like a little bit like humiliated and like, but it
Yeah,
passes.
I wouldn't
Shame
say
is
I
like
was
traumatic.
affiliated.
But I guess what I mean is like I don't like look at it like, oh, I'm this tortured soul that gets on stage
Oh,
and
right,
talks
right.
about shit. I just like making people laugh, and I
Yeah,
like performing and I like communicating. Um, so that's part of the reason. You know, I'm not like a guy who needs to go on stage and cut his wrist for everybody to see. You know,
Right.
like some people would think they need to do that. I was thinking of it more in terms of just trying to have fun and create and perform and entertain people, which is just
Right.
inherently fun. Um, but now that you open that question, like how did you deal with like your family knowing about this and since I think you're still in a relationship, like what's that
Yeah.
like? Um, like
So family knowing about it, that was all right. Like I told like some family members here and there. And then at one point my mom like put on like a family email chain and told like everybody. But yeah, man, it's been all right. I I haven't, because of the pandemic, I haven't seen a lot of and because a lot of my family lives in other places. I haven't seen them face to face in a little bit, so it hasn't had to come up in like conversation, which is kind of the biggest thing I'm trying to avoid by not telling people. Just either being asked to do a joke on the spot, or just have some, being offered advice on comedy from people that don't do it. That's more so what I'm trying to avoid when not saying it. Um, so thankfully, because of the pandemic, I haven't had to do that because I haven't just been around a lot of family members. So yeah, it's been cool. Otherwise, like my dad seen me perform, which was cool. And like my mom and my dad know my dad seen me perform, but yeah, so it's cool on that. Like they're, you know, supportive as they can be.
yeah, and you're in your mid 30s. I'm not saying like your family has like that much power over you. You know,
Right. So
you're a grown
like,
up. But I was just like terms of still like you're out there. You know, you're out there, and to get really your name out there, you gotta post stuff on social media, and now people see, oh, now he's doing
right,
this thing. It's a conversation to be had if you're going to continue maintaining some kind of like relationship with said person, family wise. You know, you'll talk at
right.
one point. Um, yeah. And what'd your dad think when he saw you perform? Yeah, I guess.
He enjoyed it, man. It was a spot out in Denver, which was cool, man. It's like Billy Joe Gillespie, dope comic out there. Put me on the show, and yeah, man, it went really well. So that was cool.
Cool.
Yeah, he enjoyed it, man. Laughed through it. Luckily, people were laughing as well. So, uh, yeah, so it worked out dope.
And it was a big crowd, or it was a decent crowd.
It was like a bar show.
Okay.
Well, it was at a brewery, actually a small brewery, so outdoors and it was kind of like it was in a garage. Actually, it was a bike shop slash brewery,
Oh.
and yeah, so it was like looked like a car garage, like a small car garage type thing with a little, you could people spill outside a little bit, so
Cool.
probably like
Nice.
15, 20 people in there.
That's pretty good for a bar show.
Yeah, hell
15,
yeah.
20 people. Yeah. All right. I mean, that's pretty much the big stuff I wanted to cover.
No doubt.
In hindsight, yeah. Thanks for doing this. I'm sorry if I kept you a little bit longer, but I want to.
Nah, it's all good, man.
We get good in some territory. Are you even working today, or do you have like a
Nah, man,
is it
I'm off today.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, President's Day. What I do, I mean, my work is mainly through I do appointments only anyway.
Oh.
So I'm luckily able to make my schedule. So yeah, I can I can arrange free time somewhat.
Good shit, man. Hey, must be a good job to have with comedy.
Yeah. Sometimes it gets busy. Only thing that doesn't kind of work out for comedy sometimes is if so I do a lot of stuff with like families and kids. Sometimes you got to work with the kids in the afternoon. They got to get out of school, or you got to wait for people to kind of get off of work. So
yeah,
I
like
might
3
have
or 4
to do
p.m.
like,
sometimes.
well, shit, I got to do some of the stuff at like 5 or 6.
Oh, okay.
Which sometimes 7, which is rare. But that start going into, oh shit, I need to be leaving by that time if I got like, if a show starts at like 7, like up in
Mhm.
Manhattan somewhere,
Yeah.
I gotta it could push you into it. So
Yeah, sometimes I noticed too a lot of shows were 7 p.m., 6:30, early.
right,
Sometimes a
right.
little too early for comedy, you know. I feel like stand up's such a nighttime thing. It's like us, but we got so used to doing it during the day. Like, weren't you
Yeah.
on the show like at 3:30 this weekend?
Oh, yeah, I did a Steve Yensel's show like 3 at a Cellar 77.
Steve Yentl
Um,
has a show now.
yeah. So they started to do shows at they're
Seller,
starting
yeah,
to do more shows at Cellar 77. Yeah,
yeah. I'm on one on next Sunday. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, man, that was it was a fun show. Steve is wild, so and the dog is always cool to have in there.
Oh, if I knew he was doing that, like I didn't know he was doing that. I'll come hang and see his
Yeah,
cracks.
yeah, right,
Isn't that sad when like when you're like dog people coming just to see you because they want to hang with your
right.
dog?
I don't know, but it's a pretty cool dog, man.
Oh, he's she. Oh, she's a little character. She
I
yeah.
feel like I just call all dogs boys for some reason.
Well, when I was growing up, we the dogs we had were all guys. Yeah, they were always
Yeah,
Snowy and Buddy, and now well, I don't live there anymore, but like Frankie, my mom's dog, so we're all guys.
right.
Yeah, I always said it was because like my mom's too.
Your mom, what?
She's like, yeah, why are you saying that? But it's like girls hate other girls, so that you never stand having a female dog. Something like that. It was just a thought I had. That's why
Right,
we
right.
always had boy dogs. I even had a not I don't think I ever finished it the joke, but it was something about like how like my mom always had Malteses, which were lap dogs for Greco-Roman queens, which just tells you how highly my mom thinks of herself.
Right,
um
right.
I don't know.
Queen of Jay.
I think that's funny, but like, maybe I'll try it on stage sometime. See if I can fit it
Nah,
in.
it can work.
Yeah, no, I think it could work. I think in a club. I mean, I don't think really for a mic, but I think for a club that would work.
Yeah,
Um,
figure
wow.
it out.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I mean, all right. Well, that's the story. That's everything I wanted to cover, and I think we did
Cool, man.
a fair long time.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate you having me on there. It was freezing at some point, so I don't know, maybe if you go back and watch it, it might look delayed and kind of
I'll
like
just put
delayed responses.
I'll just put fades. It was all right for the most part. I'll put fades in, and honestly, this is the first time I'm doing this Zoom interview stuff. But
Right?
so I appreciate you being. I'm gonna post it, but it will be like the little guinea pig. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm
If
gonna.
you ever want to do it in person at some point, I can be open to that too.
Yeah, I have a futon now.
Oh shit.
And I have so it's a nice little futon. I just thought it would be easier for the
No, yeah,
video
definitely.
the video.
Although sometimes I do want to come out to Jersey more, but
Well, there's a show now that I want to make sure I'm getting his name right. Um Elzer, um one of the
Elzer?
yeah, one of the Jersey guys. He's started producing a show now in Hoboken. That's going to be on Sundays, so I'm going to go hang um
Nice.
not next week but the following week, because I'll be on another show, so I'll hang there. So if you want to come to that, I mean, and again, Hoboken's a really nice. Joe Mahoney was on it last night, I think.
Oh,
um and that's what kind of sucks about, I'll say this, that's what kind of sucks about Hoboken, is that it's a really cool town and should have more live entertainment, but the laws are so weird about it, you can never really do it. uh
yeah.
yeah, it's weird. Like Hoboken could be like Washington Street in Hoboken, it could is like a sober Sixth Street in Austin. um yeah, because I remember going to Austin and thinking like Sixth Street was like was like Washington Street in Hoboken, but on shrooms, which was cool. Anyway, that being said, it was just cool. So
Yeah, man. I don't know. I've been out there. I did James Mack show out there, and yeah, man, it looks that area where his show was and that little waterfront area always looks dope.
yeah, nice and good little nice little walk. All right,
Yeah,
all right. I gotta get some food.
yeah, man.
I gotta get a sandwich. And
You coming over here in the city today, or are you staying out there?
I'm going to
Oh, you said you were.
Mob Mike, Comedy Mob
Oh,
Mike on 7 p.m. So and
that's at New York, right?
yeah, stand up New York. Yeah. So first time
Oh,
doing
Monday. Shit, I'm tripping. You're right.
yeah, you're thinking like the New York.
Right.
Like they had it on Sundays, I think. Which I never hang out over there at New York Comedy Club, so I like to do that.
Yeah, I always say I want to go more.
Yeah, because I feel like once you tackle New York Comedy Club, if you can tackle stand up New York, and then I guess New York Comedy Club's like the next mountain, I think.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just feeling it out. Like I'm just like from what I've seen and observed.
No, yeah, definitely. It's I definitely feel like it's like stand up New York, probably like New York Comedy Club. Probably don't put that part here as I'm at stand up New York.
Well, I was like,
but
yep, Broadway because it's a beginner's club, and then
yeah,
New York, and then New York Comedy Club, and then
yeah. And depending on who you are, I guess like the stand or the cellar. Yeah, the stand or the cellar as far as the top tier ones. I guess the cellar is probably obviously it, and Fat Black and all that. And
yeah, I think with the cellar too is just like that has such a long history and reputation.
Right.
But and that is like climbing Mount Olympus. It's an institution, so it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Like I would assume the Comedy Store is always going to be there.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, that's true. All right, man. I'll see you sometime this week.
Yeah,
sure.
man. Yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll try to go to Moe's tonight.
Oh yeah, I was gonna do that last week, and then he canceled it.
Oh really?
I got to the bar, and it was like,
shit.
And the well, yeah, because I was doing Broadway on Valentine's Day, and I was like, all right, cool, let me get a rep in. And JC hit me up, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that room again. I liked it. And I get there, and she's like, oh, it's canceled.
Damn.
Anyway, I'll go next week. I probably.
Yeah. No doubt.
All right, man. Thanks for doing
Cool,
this.
bro. See you around.